Richie Mars and your new light buddy, who is winning the men's Elimination Chamber match?
I'm gonna go with Drew McIntyre. You know, he's the safe pick, but I think he's the right pick. You know what I mean? So my money's on Drew McIntyre.
I definitely think that's the safe pick. I think all tea leaves would be kind of pointing to him. Ever
Mhm.
since the CM Punk injury happened, he's been kind of the focal point to be the guy to go ahead and face Seth Rollins or whoever may be the world heavyweight champion at WrestleMania 40. But is he the right pick? Is he the most interesting pick? Is he the most money pick? Let's say. What do you think?
Uh, I generally like stay away from the term money, like money match money,
Eh,
because like the money's already been made. You know, whether you like
I was
to
using it
like
hypothetically. Interesting.
yeah.
Like, is it the right move? Is it the right move to go with Drew if you were the pencil, so to speak?
I definitely think so because like the foundation was already there from the fall, you know, with the whole Drew McIntyre heel turn. And the best heels are always the people that have you could understand why they turn to the dark side. And Drew McIntyre is his thing is he didn't really turn to the dark side. You know, he's still the same old Drew. He's just a little bit more ruthlessness than what we've seen, especially on Raw when he accepted help from the bloodline that kind of like completed that story arc of him being a full hypocrite in this era. But as far as interesting is concerned, we have two people in this match who have faced Seth Rollins at a WrestleMania before. We have actually
Yep.
three people.
Three.
Three people. So we have
Yeah.
Randy Orton, Logan Paul, and Kevin Owens. You know, all of them had tremendous history with each other. Bobby Lashley and Seth Rollins had history. The only one who hasn't had history with Seth Rollins to a certain degree is LA Knight. So
Mhm.
you could feasibly see all these contenders kind of being a Seth Rollins opponent, whether it's WrestleMania or in the future.
Yeah, that's why I use money as like a passe term in a way. You know what I mean? Like, as in, is LA Knight the actual money match here? Is it the most interesting? Is it the most upside for someone to go in there and elevate themselves in a Seth Rollins match at WrestleMania? Is it not one from the past? Is it from an interest standpoint? Is LA Knight as hot as he was in, say, August, September, October 2023 kind of enough to be elevated to a spot like this? I understand that he's flipping brands, but a Royal Rumble winner was from Raw and jumped to SmackDown to face Roman Reigns. So that's totally pleasable in WrestleMania season. I don't know. I think LA Knight would be the most interesting in a way. Yes, it's face versus face in a way, but I don't know. I think that there's the most smoke with LA Knight. I think Drew is the right choice. I think he is probably the best choice. But if I want to get crazy, fuck around and find out, I might go LA Knight.
You know, if you want to throw that dab of chaos, you definitely could throw in an LA Knight and Seth Rollins for this year's WrestleMania. The only caveat is we have so many guys that are over and popular more than probably since the Attitude Era. There have been consistent popular guys. You know, you've had Cody, Seth, LA Knight, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Randy Orton. You have all these guys who are legitimately over. And I feel like LA Knight, I wouldn't want to use the term lost in the shuffle, but you have this giant story with the bloodline, Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins saying he'd be Cody Shield. And the only person in this match that can feasibly kind of fit in there for a conflict would probably be either Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton, because then you have a conflict of interest because of the previous relationship with Cody and Seth and Cody, and then Cody and Randy, then Randy trying to get the championship from Seth, let's say. Same thing with Kevin Owens. So, though, like for those like three like guys, you kind of have this conflict of interest of trying to ward off like people like The Rock and Roman while also vying for this championship, which is why I thought Sami Zayn being added to the world title match later down the line would be an interesting situation and scenario because Seth, Sammy, and Cody are all boys in this scenario, and then Sammy's trying to reach that world title status, and then and then everything's gonna be a giant kerfuffle, so to speak. And I feel like LA Knight, if he was thrown in that situation, would he thrive? Absolutely, but the attention won't be on him for long because you have The Rock, you have Roman, you have Cody, and you have Seth. You have all these combustible elements that one more is not going to really change up the formula that much.
I don't think that, of course, the light on him has been brighter in the past, but I still think that wattage of bulb is very bright on LA Knight. I think he kind of weathered that hiccup of a storm of coming off the Roman feud and coming off of that and maybe perhaps losing popularity. He's still pretty over. The stuff with AJ Styles has helped him from like staying on that main event or knocking on the doorstep of a main event level.
Mhm.
So I feel like he could be fine, and his star is big enough to kinda deflect away from any bigger stars or bigger auras would come around. There's still another guy that I'm looking at over here that I'm not even sure belongs in this chamber, and that's Bobby Lashley. Of course, from a star power and a big value name, 100%. He's of the aura of Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, Drew McIntyre, and so on, of course. But he's kind of hasn't been really used kind of at all at this level with a Triple H regime in a way. If you think about it, they stuck him with the Street Profits around a year ago, and they still don't really even have a name. Not that they need a name, but a name would indicate like direction and investment perhaps, but it's kind of just like, all right, go hang out with your friends in the corner, but we're not going to really give you much. You know, the Street Profits would walk around with their suits. They would try in suits for a while in ring on dark matches. They were kind of flirting with the heel, but then they're jumping babyface. So it just feels like they're totally directionless. And then they kind of have the Paul Ellering group, the Final Testament hanging around. I don't know. It just feels a little weird for Bobby Lashley to be in here. Do you feel that sentiment, or am I just kind of overreacting a little bit about Bobby?
I mean, I could definitely see that, especially because Bobby Lashley, I don't want to use the term cooled off because you would have to turn the stove on in order to heat something up, and they didn't really do that with Bobby.
Yeah.
And which is unfortunate because I think Bobby Lashley, for a guy his age, he looks phenomenal. I think he could
Mhm.
be a main event player inserted to anything like this chamber, for example.
Yeah.
And the thing is, when you have a group like they were doing with Bobby and the Street Profits, I believe they're called the Pride now, and
Is that
you
official?
I think they said it in a promo, but I gotta double check.
Continue.
But
Sorry.
no, not a problem. When you have a group like that and you're trying to establish them as a heel group, one, it's tough. It's a uphill climb to begin with because everybody loves Bobby Lashley. You know, it's that
Everyone
staying
loves the Street
power.
Profits.
Everyone loved the Street Profits, and now you're gonna try to turn them to the dark side. It's gonna be an uphill battle that way. But another thing, you need that babyface contingency to stick that. You know what I mean? And now we have the Final Testament, which is now that this new big bag group that they're trying to get over. So one of them has to be de facto baby faces, and that's going to be Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits. So their issue is still going to be continuing. And Bobby Lashley in this match, I think he's going to have a very good showing. I think he's going to be, you know, when you have the chamber match and you have this dominant force, like you're
Yeah.
going to do like, you know, the finisher spam, you know, like 3 or 4 guys hit their finishers and then everyone piles on 1, 2, 3. And that's going to protect Bobby Lashley in a way. But yeah, he's been stuck in neutral for the past year, ever since probably that Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal scenario.
Yeah,
You
since the
know, right?
breakthrough kind of fell out. Yeah.
Yeah, the Bray thing, and then like the whole weird Brock Lesnar trilogy that happened. So yeah, hopefully Bobby Lashley kind of bounces back from that. I think his group and Karen Cross's group definitely have as a potential there. You know, if it's going to be like a street fight or anything like that, I think they would thrive in that kind of environment. But concerning this match, I think Bobby's gonna show up fine.
Yeah. Obviously he fits in this match, you know,
Yeah.
and like you said, he's so flexible. You can really throw him anywhere on the card, especially from a star power point of view. But yeah, I feel like he's just kind of dormant in a way. Let's
Yeah.
talk KO. KO, has he seen better days? Perhaps, but I think he's in a really good spot, flirting with the Logan Paul feud coming on here. But he's really aimless at WrestleMania if Logan Paul, say, goes LA Knight.
Mhm.
What's your, what's your thoughts on Kevin Owens right now in 2024?
I think Kevin Owens is in a very interesting position where he's kind of the veteran, but we still kind of want to see him do more in a
Yeah,
way in the main event scene because it doesn't seem like he's tapped his full potential up there.
yeah.
And I pitched this on Ruthless Talk, shout out Ruthless Talk's roundtable, like during the Rumble show that they had. I pitched that Kevin Owens and AJ Styles can have a match at WrestleMania. I mean, both guys seem to be directionless. if LA Knight were to go the Logan Paul route, and they never done the babyface Kevin Owens versus the heel AJ Styles,
Yeah, it
you
was
know,
flipped.
so I think that would be a better matchup considering their matches prior weren't really well received or they had too high expectations. Now I think they're both kind of like in a steady point where I think people won't have that high expectations from both of them. So that when they do reach those expectations, it's going to be a much like accepted match amongst the fan base. So I see Kevin Owens, if he's not going with Logan Paul, he might drift off to AJ Styles. And I think it's a match that would probably make sense in that.
All right, so you perhaps thinks that Drew McIntyre is definitely winning this match. Who do you think the runner-up is?
Randy.
Okay, so let's talk Randy. Say Drew McIntyre has a heart attack in the middle of the match, and you have to book on the fly for someone else to win the match, and no one else has been eliminated. Is Randy or your answer on the fly to go face Seth Rollins at WrestleMania?
Randy would be my answer, just because like next to like besides Drew, Randy's probably the safe pick in that. Like I said before, if Randy Orton were to be the number one contender for Seth Rollins' championship, you have that interesting dynamic and dilemma where Randy wants to, reach to number 16 or 17 world
Yep,
titles,
definitely some
but
juice there.
he's also trying to like look out for Cody because him and Cody are boys. But again, it's like the angel and the devil on the shoulders, and you're wondering which way to go. Like if I could take out Seth now with his myriad of injuries, he has like an injured back, he has injured knees, he has injured soul. Everything is injured with Seth Rollins, and now Randy Orton. You have that apex predator going like, I can take advantage of that, and we've seen Randy Orton take advantage of those kind of injuries. So that would be an interesting thing to kind of play. Like Randy Orton could destroy Cody's shield from the bloodline, but will this new Randy Orton, this rejuvenated Randy Orton, actually do it? And same thing with Seth Rollins and just his tendencies to turn on people. So there's a lot of things that could be thrown in the mix, considering if Randy Orton were to be the number one contender for the world title.
Yeah, interesting. I would definitely be interested in him chasing that 16th title for sure. I think he does, due to his longevity and the star power, I think that he kind of deserves that accolade. All right, so
Yeah.
Logan Paul,
Mhm.
just like last year, Logan Paul, WrestleMania opponent was established inside the chamber. I look at three names in here: LA Knight, a Kevin Owens rematch, perhaps Randy Orton. Which three of those options are best for a Logan Paul WrestleMania match?
Best in terms of in-ring quality would probably be
Like,
Kevin.
there's still juice on that story too.
Best in terms of just believability and just like a babyface and a heel would probably be LA Knight and Logan Paul, because those two are the same side of the coin. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So
Yep.
it's like very similar brash personalities, megastar versus megastar, it kind of just writes itself in a way.
Yeah, it's
And then
perfect.
you have Logan Paul and Randy Orton, and
Box office.
Randy, that where's Randy gonna hit the RKO out of out of the air if Logan Paul like jumps from there. So I think the more interesting one to me personally is Logan Paul and LA Knight, just because we've seen the little bit of teases
Mhm.
from back in the summer. So I think that would be a pretty fun matchup. And if not, you could always go Logan and KO, kind of finish off what they started.
Yep, Logan Paul is about as useful as basketball cleats, that is. So
You didn't need to do that.
I thought the line worked back at Money in the Bank. But all right, Richie, as we got out of here, sticking with Drew McIntyre,
Mhm. Yep.
he's the right pick.
He's the
I
right
just
pick. He's got the best-selling T-shirt. He changed his name to DM Hunk. How much more heat can he get by not only becoming world champion at a WrestleMania, fulfilling his dream and prophecy of winning the world title in front of a crowd this time, but also kind of taunting an injured CM Punk with stealing his WrestleMania moment, main event, whatever you want to call it. So I think it just kind of writes itself with Drew McIntyre. It's like one of those happy accidents.
yeah,
We could all assume that CM Punk was going to be in this chamber, And you could really just run with that story with Drew McIntyre, just kind of slid into that spot and became what CM Punk wanted. And that's exactly how this match should go.
It's definitely an accident too, because he had the crown jewel where it was kind of face versus face, and that was the catalyst to get him to turn heel. And then around the start of the year, end of last year, Drew was defeated again by Seth Rollins. It's definitely not a brand new match, but they've made it interesting, and this is the hottest Drew's been probably since 2020. So I think it's warranted, and I think it's time for it for sure. He's also my pick.
Yeah, Drew McIntyre is like, he hasn't been this hot, like you said, in 2020. I think arguably he's even hotter, as terms of just character. He's firing on all cylinders. His troll game is amazing on social media, and he has a more dimensional personality as compared to when he was facing Brock Lesnar for the championship. So now, he's more established. Everyone's wants him in that position. And I don't think a lot of people really, not saying they didn't want him, but it just kind of seemed like, okay, Drew's the flavor of the month of they're going to try to give him the championship and see how he runs with it. And even his victory over Cody Rhodes is showing that I think the company is also has their eggs in the Drew McIntyre basket right now in terms of promoting him, pushing him forward, and he's definitely worth any money you put on a contract. So if he hasn't signed yet, then I say WWE should sign him over bringing another talent or free agent in, because Drew McIntyre is definitely a asset to current day WWE.
And speaking of his contract, if he has not signed yet, his price keeps going up and up just due to his performance. So kudos to him, and kudos to you, Richie, for joining me. Great job as always. And we'll see you at next one at WrestleMania season, buddy.
Sounds good, man. See you.